Okay, everyone, welcome to the weekend market wrap up with myself, Michael Noss, chartered market technician from statsedgetrading.com. As always, what we're going to do at the end of the week, we're going to take a big zoom out, we're going to look at weekly charts. Make sure you go to statsedgetrading.com or just click the link in the description below and go and sign up for the email list so I can make sure if there's anything cool that I'm doing in the future, I can email you. Don't worry, I don't sell the email list. I don't spam you. A couple emails a week. That'll be about it. And all chart related content. So, what's happening this week? We're going to, as always, we're going to start with Bitcoin and another awesome week. Zoom in a little bit here just to show this intraday or this daily pattern that I talked about on Wednesday. Again, if you missed that, sign up for the email list. I emailed that out on Wednesday where we had this massive down day and then this little tiny doji and then we started to recover. So this sell-off didn't do much. And if we zoom out on the weekly chart, didn't do much at all. Didn't even break the prior week's low. So really bullish continuation week for Bitcoin. I don't know what else to say other than I'm glad I'm long it. I'm glad I'm continuing to be long it. Same with Ethereum here. A little bit less so, but Bitcoin just rocketing. These, I always want to come back to here because these can get overextended a lot, right? Not a red week on Bitcoin from 11,000 up to 40,000. Now, I don't know, I don't think we're going to get that anymore. It seems like every rally on Bitcoin on a percentage basis comes less and less. So that's something that could happen, but really, it's not something that I'm going to worry about. I'm going to continue to ride this trend as long as there is a trend. I'm going to go into the Dixie here. So this is the dollar index. More downside movement this week, which is exactly what we wanted. We talked about in the last weekend video how we had a rally here up to this prior high. I was hoping that we'd rally for maybe another week and then sell off. Didn't happen. We just rolled over right here. I was able to get a good short in this by, again, like I talked about on the Wednesday episode, by longing euro. It's important to know when you look at the dollar index, which is basically the dollar versus a basket of other currencies, a lot of that is the euro. It has, pound and yen and Canadian dollars and all that in it. So it's a good basket of that, but a lot of that is the euro. So speaking of the euro, we can actually go in here and we can look at the reverse here where this anchored VWAP and then this anchored VWAP. So from this major high and from this major low, just kind of created a zone around, call it 1.08 to 1.07. As we pulled into that, we rallied off. So on a shorter term time frame, I was able to get some good trades off of this. So another couple currencies I want to look at is Aussie CAD. I'm really liking the trading of this currency. I may be biased because I kind of caught a low right here, but I'm just watching it digest the anchored VWAP from this major high. If it can fill through there, then I like the look of that one. And then Aussie yen doesn't look great. It's looking for now like we may have failed at these prior highs, with last week being a big down week and this week just being a little inside doji. So I think next week I'm going to watch very closely because I think that's going to tell us the direction of the Aussie yen going forward. If we start to push up here and we break that, it may look like that Bitcoin chart we just looked at where it had a big down move, a little inside doji, and then continued higher. But if this rolls over, then what that means is that this just turns into a bit of a bear flag here on the daily chart, or even if we go into the 4-hour chart, that might look a little bit more compelling as a overall bear flag. All right, now we're going to go into gold here and take a look at XAU. Gold, let's go to the weekly chart here, and had this massive top last week, and then sold back off into this low. Sold off a little bit more this week, but recovered. But again, another indecision kind of period in gold. I'm going to take this line. I'm going to drag it up because this is the area that I think we need to hold. These are the prior closes back in this area right here, and it looks like we need to hold that right now. So if we can hold this area right here and start to push higher, that could be my continuation case in gold. Again, I'm from the monthly chart, which we're not going to look at yet, but we can zoom out on this weekly chart. This is really what I'm looking at in gold. I'm looking to see if this kind of cup and handle looking pattern is going to break higher. So that's why I'm very interested in smaller time frames trying to buy, because I have this longer time frame bias. Now, without further ado, let's get into trade ideas here. So again, trade ideas is what I use for my all of my equity stuff when it comes to equity scanning, trading, all of that. We can just do a quick look at the watch list here. This is something I pointed out on Twitter. Again, if you're not following me on Twitter, I'm just Michael Noss, CMT, everywhere. So you'll just type that into Google, Twitter, Threads, TikTok, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. I noticed that this tan or this solar for the last 2 days, even with the SPY down a little bit today, solar seems to be holding strong. So I'm going to keep an eye on that, because if that divergence between solar and the overall market continues, that's something I want to watch really, really closely. So we're going to go in here and we're going to take a look always at starting with the SPY. And the S&P 500, there's really not much to say, right? It's a big breakout of this move. We are getting close to this high right here. We're up many weeks in a row, but that can happen. That could happen, especially when all the bears are caught off guard. Do I expect some sort of rest? Yeah, at some point. It would make sense because we have the potential Santa Claus rally coming up, that it would make sense actually if the next week or so we rested while we waited for that historically strong period of time. But again, it's not something I'm going to bet on one way or another. So I need to continue to trade with the overall trend, but I am starting to get a little bit cautious of, hey, things are going a little bit wild. Again, never shorted up here, but might be time to take some profits, which is kind of what I've been doing, which we'll go over when we get in the stock section. So MDY is our mid cap index, where the S&P 500 is large cap, getting close to a pretty serious area of resistance here on MDY. Something I have to keep a really close eye on, because if the mid caps are going to take a break, then it makes sense that the large caps are going to take that break as well. Actually, just grabbing a quick screenshot of that. I'm going to tweet that out, I think. IWM, we're going down the cap scale now. So IWM is our small caps. Same thing, right? We're up a whole lot, and we're into this 200 level, which has been a massive area for IWM. Let me grab that screenshot as well. Massive area here for IWM. So there could be some resistance kind of coming up on tap. And also, we go to ARK, which I had next on my list here. ARK is the same thing, right? So the same thing is happening on ARK, in which we have this prior, get out of here. We have this prior resistance zone right here. That could act as resistance. Again, doesn't mean that that's it. That's the end of the bull run. I think we're going to reverse from here. But just a lot of things that are coming into resistance makes me say, okay, well, maybe we need to take a little bit of a rest. And if we go to XLE, this is interesting to me from the other end. So XLE is our energy ETF. It's pulled back into this area that it's broke out of, this kind of 80 to 85 area. It's put in two. This is really what I'm focused on, is these last two candles. You can see the bottoming tails that came under this zone and then rallied 2 weeks in a row. Makes me think that if we break this downtrend line in energy and start to push higher, that might be a little bit of a way to take a move on that. So that's what I'm thinking for the indexes. Let's take a look at some underlying stocks that I'm interested in. One here, we'll go into the daily chart. One here is HCC. So HCC is interesting to me as a coal mining. So this kind of dovetails into what I was talking about with the XLE, right? So if energy is going to move higher, maybe coal is going to move higher with it. And this HCC has just been in a really nice uptrend. It's pulled back. It's put in a couple bottoming tails right below this line right here, and it has a pretty clear area to call it 58 or so bucks. If it breaks through 58, that's interesting to me. Urban Outfitters is getting right near this resistance point. If we kind of zoom out here a little bit, potential kind of cup and handle look. We have this big overall cup, and now we're just sitting right at this zone right here. So potential for Urban Outfitters to break out of that zone. We have Beam, BEAM. Same kind of thing. I'm watching this Beam because it's got this 20% short float, which is pretty significant. Clear area at this $30. We have resistance or support right there. That turned into resistance here and here. So I'm just thinking if this Beam can kind of break through this $30, maybe that 20% short float starts coming into play. Last but not least, this GPCR. The reason I'm looking at this guy, if we draw out the anchored VWAP here, did I do that right? Anchored VWAP, there we go. You can see the anchored VWAP from this major low where it came in to fill the gap and then bounce. We're back to that anchored VWAP from that low, and we've seen some strength off that area. 8% short float, so not wild, but something to keep an eye on. That's this GPRC. It's a pharmaceutical company, so you got to be careful with those as well. But yeah, that is it for this week. Thank you everyone for stopping by. Thanks for tuning in to the video. Make sure you keep commenting and hitting the like button, all that. The algorithm loves that, and I appreciate that for you. Go to statsedgetrading.com, sign up to the email list, and then get away from the screens.